Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and I hope you guys are doing well this Friday evening. This is maintaining frame number 58. Men, are you being seen as creepy? You need to approach women anyway. We're going to be looking at, well, actually, there was an article from EV Magazine, but it's kind of old, from like 2022. I guess they sort of like
That's not that old.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, but it's also been sort of like redone a couple times. So I have one from the post millennial because the Eevee one I have to have an account, and I didn't.
Wait. Post millennial. Isn't post millennial supposed to be like alt right or something?
No, well, I'm sure that the mainstream media would say that, but no, it's just a right wing website, I guess.
Right wing.
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
because you can't really tell reading the article that they wrote or they put out on their blog.
Yeah. Well,
definitely got that kind of bitter cat lady flavor to it. At least, unless I'm thinking.
Unless, well, I don't know if it's like a word for word thing, but Eevee is definitely like a, like a TradCon website that a woman,
no,
I think a woman runs it.
The one I'm looking at is from Medium. So.
Oh, that's the blog. So that one's the most recent. That's why I brought it out, because it might be the same, but it doesn't really matter. They're probably all sort of pointing in the same direction, right? So, but yeah, so we got this blog. It's a Medium blog from someone named Jessica Wildfire, which I'm sure is her real name, and not the name of her Harry Potter character in some like MMO or something.
This is my Harry Potter persona.
Yeah, not her LARP character from some like, I don't know, like what are the forum RPG stuff? I that was like a thing we did years ago. That's cringe.
Yeah, I don't know if people do that anymore.
I don't. Lindsay did, but I don't.
Okay, so we have like 3 articles, right? So one was originally from Eevee.
Yes.
Eevee's a little bit more traditionalist.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, it probably had the tamest take. I am sorry. Oh gosh, my dog is looking directly at me as he barks.
I don't hear it.
You don't hear it? Okay.
No, I don't hear it.
All right. Well, then I'll just plow through.
Try to ignore him. How about that?
Try to ignore his demands. Yeah. Okay. So we got the more traditionalist Eevee take, which is interestingly like, are they really traditionalist? Because it was the most
Eevee.
I would have to say sensible and mild take of all of them, because their basic conclusion was, well, if men aren't approaching, hey, ladies, let's approach them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds about right. Like, I think that sometimes people figure that shit out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, like, they figure it out. So
yeah, they figure it out. They come on a sensible solution. They manage to, for a moment, stop the knee jerk. Men must be responsible, and women can't take action to ameliorate this issue, because only men can. That kind of jerk over everything, and actually say, hey, wait, maybe women have the ability to change this thing that they constructed in the first place. Yeah. And then I don't know about the one from the post millennial, what kind of flavor it had, but definitely the one from Wildfire on
oh yeah, right.
Medium.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a little hilariously bitter and self-contradictory. So which one are we gonna do today, Brian?
Well, I don't know. Like, I did get a archive link for the Eevee magazine version. Since that's the one that was brought forward originally, but it is from September of 2022. I guess not that long ago, but you want to do the Medium one? Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, if we have to choose, but yeah. I haven't seen the post millennial one, so I don't know the flavor of it. But I would say the Medium one compared to the Eevee one is gonna have the most lulls.
Okay, so then we'll look at the Medium one. This is a blog, so I have a feeling that this person is gonna like try and
disgorge her id.
No, just like basically do the writer thing, like she's telling a story, and you know what I mean. Like it's like,
yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
I am a failed novelist. And
yeah.
I am going to suffer through my inability to write.
Yep.
Instead of just making this concise and to the point. Okay, I should probably do my things, right?
Yes, do your things.
Okay, so I would like to point out that we are doing our monthly fundraiser now. I know we finished off a fundraiser to help me edit my story, The Captive Eye, and thank you to everybody who helped out. That was finished on Monday, but now we have to do the monthly fundraiser that covers the expenses for the month here at HBR. So if you would please help us out to make sure we can continue to create this content, it is at feedthebadger.com/support. And if you have any problems supporting, just message me. If you're in the Discord, you can do it there, or message in the chat. Just tell us. I always seem to get something wrong. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support. And if you want to send us a message, it's at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's the best way to send us a message, because we get the full benefit of your funds, and you get the full benefit of not having to deal with YouTube shenanigans. And I think you also get a little bit more space. So as long as you keep it under about 2,000 characters, please keep it well under 2,000 characters for our sake. You're fine. So that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Best way to send us a message, and best way to support us is feedthebadger.com/support. I will do shout outs. Maybe I'll do some arm twisting at the half hour if I'm feeling cute. We'll twist arms.
All right.
Okay.
Do it.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, let's get into the article. So this is from Medium, and written by Jessica Wildfire, and it is entitled, "More than 50% of men are scared women will find them creepy. There's a simple solution." I wonder what she's going to propose. All right. Hey, what about her? It came from some dude talking about my mom to one of his buddies. I was standing in line with her at the post office. I was 8. They leaned back and watched us. They started making comments about me. My mom told me to ignore them. Eventually, they walked off. They called us boring. In college, this guy used to come to my favorite coffee shop almost every day. He bought an iced tea. He found a table across from a cute girl and stared at her until she got uncomfortable and left. Sometimes he stared at me until I moved into another room. Then he stood beside the espresso machine and stared at the barista. She couldn't leave. Nobody believed they could do anything to stop him.
What? How about the barista say, "Okay, you're within the safety limit of the espresso machine. You know, it might blow up. It might." So none of these women could just stare back and pick their nose. Just get it up into the knuckle. Find a nice long string and then eat it.
How do they
See if he still wants to stare after that.
How do they even know that he's staring at them? How do they know he's not spacing out or staring at something else?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, how do you know?
Yeah, how do you know?
How do you know that he's not severely myopic and all you are is a pink blur that could be a woman?
It's just
or
it's so funny how women know what men mean to do when men do anything. They know exactly why they're doing it. He's staring at me.
Why did nobody believe they could do nothing to stop him? Why did anybody attempt to just go up and say, "Hey,
nothing could be done.
Stop staring"?
It was his thrall.
Did your mom not you? I mean,
he had a low-level thrall. The only thing he could do is make women feel uncomfortable and not throw their panties at him.
Okay, this is a lot. I see. He needs to upgrade his thrall.
Yeah, he needs to level up his thrall, so he's trying to use it.
But I was just like, this is definitely a different world. It's a window into a very interesting world.
Yeah, just don't stare at it.
A couple weeks ago, I told the story about how at my mom's funeral, her feminist friends said that she never needed feminism. And I wonder if this is maybe the big controversy or the big conflict all this time has been, I'm just a woman who doesn't need feminism, because it seems like the solution is really simple. In fact, I've had uncomfortable experiences with men, or not even with men, just like been in a situation. Well, okay, I'll just lay it out. All right, so you know how in conventions they have these like slave auctions?
Mm-hmm.
you know what? And they put people up there and they bid on them. And at one of these things, this may be something that we did in like the 90s and the early aughties or whatever you call them. And we don't do that anymore because everybody is terrified of offending people. But anyway, so I was sitting in the audience of one, because I just, I was at this convention and was helping out, and I was watching this go down, and there's these two guys in front of me who were making a series of rude comments about how I'd pay a penny for her and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, these weren't incredibly attractive women. Some of them were actual guests, so they were authors, and people who were important in the fandom. And I just leaned forward and I said, go up there and I'll bid a nickel on one of you. And they shut the fuck up instantly. And it's like, can none of you ladies do that? Like, can you not just say, stop staring? You're making people uncomfortable. Unless you have an IQ under 70, stop doing it.
Shouldn't have to, Allison. Shouldn't have to.
Yeah, but this is just being human, isn't it?
Well, again, no. I mean, I don't see. First of all, I'm not even certain that this happened. This is like one of those things. But if we have to take it at face value, that like there was a man who sat at a table that was across from a cute girl and stared in her general direction until she got uncomfortable and left, then you cannot assume that he found that table and sat there purposefully to be across from that girl and stared at her purposefully to make her uncomfortable so that she left. Like like you can't do that, but they will. I mean, you said this is some kind of, what was it, a conflict or a con something? It's some kind of con. It's a con, that's for sure.
Convention. Convention.
It's a con.
I'm just saying, like how why can't they just, if somebody's being rude, why can't they? I mean, and I do this with women too. If women were being rude, like I was at another convention.
I mean, people.
Except this was
like,
this was like a all women or a majority woman convention, and the slave auction was of men. Yeah. And this woman was being disgusting.
Sure.
And I just, I just looked at her. And I just laid the most I don't know how to describe it, but you just lay weight into your fucking look.
Mm-hmm.
She shut up. Like, can you not do that?
Well,
I mean, the barista, can she not say, move along, get out of the lane, other customers? Has she no ability, if she feels uncomfortable, to call somebody else to help out? Like, why does it feel like we're peeking into the realm of women who don't exist, don't have a corporeal existence? They're just sort of floating through life on the whims and the winds of everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we hold them to a standard of
that would
actually...
be...
Oh yeah, that's right.
That would be hard to believe. I don't... Yeah, it's misogyny to do that. So, okay, I guess I'll read a little bit more.
Sure, yeah.
Nobody believed they could do anything to stop him. He had a right to be there, after all. Like, it's some kind of concession. Like, I guess he has the right for now, One time, a stranger grabbed my friend's arm as she was walking into a restaurant. He almost yelled, "You're so beautiful!" She screamed.
Almost yelled?
He almost yelled, yeah.
What did he yell?
No, I mean, maybe he just said, "You're so beautiful,"
you parked
loudly
in the handicap parking lot.
He might have just been a loud guy, or maybe it was noisy, and he wanted to make sure that she could hear him.
Brian, read this sentence. He almost yelled, "You're so beautiful," which means he didn't yell that.
Right. He just almost yelled it. Oh, or that.
Or was he not loud? Like, is that what she's trying to say?
I think she's trying to say that he was speaking loudly, but not necessarily yelling. So it was like bordering on, maximum discomfort, but instead it was just somewhat uncomfortable. Because when you say he almost yelled, I think she's saying his volume wasn't quite at the level of yelling, but it was like his voice was raised.
Okay, and then her friend screamed, and that's the end of the story.
And then she screamed. She should not have been. She should not have been like had like he should not have had the right to do any of that. To give her a compliment, grab her by the arm, which I have to. We have to accept. Let's pretend that all of this actually happened. I don't see how a man would do any of this in this fucking climate. Like touch a woman, knowing that he could just get thrown in jail for that. But let's pretend. Did you die? Like, you know?
I feel like I feel like this story stops too abruptly.
Yeah. It's not over yet, is it?
What happened next? Like, was he dragged out in the parking lot and beaten to death?
I think is this writing? Is this writing in the current year? Is this this is literature?
God, that's terrible. Okay, what happened next? What happened next? A man stepped out of line. What happened next?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. It ended because she screamed, but then like he probably apologized profusely, assuming this even happened. He probably apologized profusely, hung his head in shame, and walked away. Probably. But then if she said that had actually happened, then, you know, this story wouldn't have any impact because the man would feel resentful for what he had done.
Yeah. If she could hang something more on men, she would be describing things happening after she screamed.
Yeah, exactly.
So guaranteed some dude stepped up and said, "Hey, stop making her uncomfortable," or he shuffled off and apologized.
Yeah.
Or something like
or
that.
Or the cops came and killed him, or something, right?
If the rape gang tap danced out of the fucking and said, "Yeah, we're going to get you," that would have been in your anecdote. I'm pretty sure. But no, it didn't happen.
No.
So this is the thing. They always end the anecdotes
with the woman's reaction.
Well, not just the woman's reaction,
but the worst.
Worst part. Like that's it. Everything else is probably just everybody was like, "Oh my God, you made that woman scream." Yep. And he apologized. Someone beats him up, and life moves on.
It's not just everything after that, but also everything leading up to that. Because, like, what if they were talking, and he wanted to tell her something, but they had already been talking before? What if they were flirting? I mean, I don't know, right? What if her scream wasn't like a fear scream? Maybe her scream was like a squeal, like a like that. Like, how do we know? Because there's no, I don't buy it, frankly. I mean,
how about no?
I just don't buy it. But if we have to accept it, it's just like this moment in time that has nothing that happened before and nothing that's happened after. So it's like in a vacuum, and we're supposed to like feel a certain way about this moment.
But the other thing is that he touched your arm. He grabbed your arm. Yeah. Okay. In a restaurant, so it's probably nothing is going to happen. I don't think he's going to be dragging her out in this public place. So he just grabbed her arm. Okay, well, can we in a boundary invasion for a moment, but can we deal with the fact that women think they're entitled to a hell of a lot more than that?
Yeah, like, really.
With men and other women? Like, I have experienced a lot more disgusting, unwanted attention from women than men.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to think that they have every right to do it. So maybe we can have that discussion about women before we continue to start saying that men grabbing your arm or touching your arm is such a horrendous assault. Can we deal with the other shit that women think that they're entitled to first? We have that conversation,
Yeah.
But anyway, and also, can we start recognizing that feeling like you have the right to touch another person is actually it's less likely to be a man's going to think that than a woman, in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to have this conversation about entitlement to other people's bodies, I think we need to stop pretending like it's only men that need to have that need to be told. And in fact, I think for the most part, men know that they're not entitled to touch other people's bodies. It's women that don't know, and men who have some kind of developmental delay, shall we say.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just putting like the whole framework of this is even if these things happened, even if they're true, they don't say anything more about men than they say about women with similar levels of entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he's trying to say, "Oh, this is only about men." Bullshit. It's not
Yeah.
only about. It's about there's a certain class of people, which in my experience is majority female, think they can touch you, and it's unpleasant, especially if you're like socially having social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is not a man thing; it's a human thing, and it's often a woman thing because they think that they can touch anyone who they please, and they can't, and they need to learn that. I wish there was a big goddamn PSA, ladies. It's not okay to have sex with someone who's unconscious. It's not okay to touch people when they're actively trying to get away from you. Okay? Stop trying to kiss people as they push you away. Accept the word no. And don't think that a person is just not cool, not having fun, gay. Don't use all that shit to shame people for it, for not wanting to be touched by a woman. Okay?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
like I said, this is the framework. This framework is that this is a problem that only men do. It's
yep.
not. Women do it too.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You see these stories all over the internet. A man blocks a woman in her parking space so he can get her phone number. A man follows no.
How about no?
A man follows a woman into the locker room to ask her out.
Oh, absolutely not. A man blocks a woman in her parking space. Okay, maybe in the realm of a man follows a woman into the locker room to ask her out. Well, guess what? He's going to be removed by the police.
Yeah.
Don't be like you're now getting into the realm of absolutely retarded or detarded.
Yep.
A man flags a woman
down and hands her an explicit poem about her body. A man follows a woman in his truck while she's out jogging. Are you watching too many movies about stalkers? Because that sounds like this one with Russell Crowe that I saw. I forgot what it was called, but it wasn't good. Okay. Women are harassed constantly. They try to talk about it. You see this? You see this spacing? Do you see this?
Yes, I see it. She's doing her 11th grade, writing class.
Oh my god.
It's so fraught. You got to do that. Women are harassed constantly. They try to talk about it. Nobody listens. Jesus Christ. Has anyone stopped listening to women? Really?
I think that we're in this. I think we're in this mess because we listen to women too much. So
we listen to hysterical women too.
Yeah, the wrong women, the loudest women. Whereas like a large number of women are silent on things. But they're gonna have to start speaking up because these loud women are kind of ruining it for everybody.
Well, a lot of these women are terrifying in some ways. The ones that play victim constantly. They can be pretty scary women. Like this woman's probably got some people in her life who are absolutely terrified of her. Let's be fair. Let's be honest. Because there's this quality that these women who play victim have that they make you doubt your own mind.
Yeah.
And then they also weaponize other people against you. So women like this, the woman who writes this article, I would guarantee that she's got a couple people who are absolutely shitting terrified of her. And that's why nobody wants to confront these women, because they're scary.
Mm-hmm. It's probably also
creepy.
why she might be like, she might not have a lot of friends. Okay. Nobody listens. Well, the internet has found a new problem for us to solve. Apparently, only women have to solve these problems. Apparently, more than 50% of men avoid interactions with women. They're scared to ask them out. They worry about looking creepy. Somehow, it's women's fault. Women don't hit on men enough. They don't make men feel welcome. They something. Who knows? Whew, lad. Okay. So, when men approach women, you don't like it because they're apparently harassing you and blocking you off and grabbing your arm and doing like all this fucking Clark Gable 1950 shit to you, which only you experience for whatever reason. But when they don't do it, and they say, this is actually like we get like we can lose our jobs if we talk to women. We can get arrested if we talk to women, and they don't like our approach, or they don't like what we look like, or whatever. And that's also women's fault. Like she doesn't want to deal with that either. I don't know what you want. What do you want, lady? Do you just want well, anyway, go ahead, Alice.
Okay, let's get. No, okay, so I'm. This is a really interesting sort of situation. I mean, she goes on and on and on. Like, obviously likes the sound of her own voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit further down that I want to make the comment, but I want to talk a bit about the context of this. So there was a study done that found that 53% of men, single men, and 44% of married men avoid interacting with women.
That this article from ideas.ted.com. What makes a person creepy and what purpose do our creep detectors serve? A psychologist explains.
No, that actually is giving a little bit even more deep lore that gives you even more context of the word creep and what it actually means. And I can get into that as well. We can look at that. It might be worth it to go into
it might be. Is it just like man who I don't find attractive? Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, okay,
basically,
okay. Yeah.
But let me clarify all this. So there's a study that was done by, I think his name was Mark Travers. I'd have to double check that. And he found that 53% of single men do not want to interact with women, or don't interact with women, and 44% of married men do not interact with women out of fear of being called creepy. And something like 82% of women experience behavior that they define as creepy. So yeah, it's Mark Travers. Okay, so he did this study, and which is really interesting because when you think about it, interact with women doesn't mean approach. Okay, so they don't even want to interact with women. That means they don't want to talk to women at the workplace. They don't want to say to a woman in an elevator, "Could you hit number 15?" They don't want to ask a woman for time. They don't want to approach a woman when they need something in a context of part of their job, that kind of stuff. They don't want to interact with women even platonically, even politely, even in passing. So probably the number of men who are not going to approach women is significantly higher than 53%. But that wasn't what was asked, apparently, and I can't find the study to ascertain exactly. So I wanted to point that out. So the number of men who probably aren't approaching women is probably higher than 53%. Hopefully married men aren't doing too many approaches, but regardless. Now, what Mark Travers says is he goes to women and he asks, well, what are the behaviors, or what do you consider to be creepy? And these women listed 9 behaviors that men should avoid. Some are more obvious than others. The complete list is staring. 1, staring. 2, unwanted contact on social media. How do you know it's unwanted until you do the contact? You know what, whatever. 3, inappropriate comments. 4, controlling behaviors. How do you have controlling behaviors before you're in a relationship?
Yeah, weird.
5, won't accept no. 6, unwanted physical contact. 7, pressure for sex. 8, clinginess. And 9, physical stalking. Okay, physical stalking is illegal. That shouldn't be classified as creepy. That's criminal. Clinginess is, yeah, my dog is clingy. It doesn't make him creepy, but regardless.
Well, and the thing is too is that how can you be clingy if you're meeting someone?
Yeah.
I mean, like, how much, I guess it would be, and a lot of this, it's also subjective. Like, honestly, it just, none of this matters. If it's like, look, if it's a hot dude, he can do all that shit. Yeah. If she finds him hot,
that's what I wanted to
he can do. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay. I'm just saying that like unwanted. So 2, unwanted staring is also subjective. Inappropriate comments, subjective. Unwanted physical contact, subjective. Pressure, subjective. Clinginess, subjective. So we're left with a whole bunch of subjectivity. All right. And I wanted to clarify something about this because they're framing this. This guy, Mike Travers, is framing this exactly wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. He says that men are afraid of being called creepy. In my opinion, looking at this through the lens of being able to see through the gender roles of our society, and look at the pressures underneath, I would say that what men are doing, I mean, people can correct me if I'm wrong, is that they are avoiding interacting women because they do not want to be dehumanized by them.
Mm-hmm.
No, so we can say, oh, they don't want to be seen as creepy. No, they don't want women dehumanizing them. I'm gonna go a little bit. People are gonna be like, oh, you're going too far. The behaviors that are used to remove sympathy from a group of people, and I'm going to use the example of Nazi Germany and Jewish people because this is the example now. They didn't start by simply saying, "Oh, we're gonna do horrible things to the Jews because they're Jewish." They started by saying, "Oh, Jewish people hate Germany and Germans. They're antisocial. They're creepy. They're sexually creepy. They're criminal." Okay, so that is the thin edge of the wedge, right? That's where you start when you want to start to isolate and ostracize a group of people. So by the time you get to rounding them up, all the Germans think is that they're a criminal people that have engaged in unlawful activities against, the motherland, right? So you start with the thin edge of the wedge, that kind of assertion of being creepy, antisocial, and criminal. And what these men are doing is they are avoiding interactions with women because they don't want to be called creepy, antisocial, and criminal. They don't want to be subject to a dehumanization by women. They don't want to have this abuse inflicted on them. So they're avoiding interacting with women. I mean, approaching women we're not even talking about that anymore. Mm-hmm. They're avoiding interactions with women because they don't want to be dehumanized. And the way that he's framing this is, oh, well, if you just avoid these behaviors, you won't be dehumanized. Well, that's bullshit. First of all, it puts the onus on the people who are being victimized. I'm going to use that word, victimized. Because if this was a situation where women were afraid of men because of something men were saying, we would say that is bad. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right? And that's what's happening here. Men are avoiding women because they don't want to be abused by them. All right?
Yep.
And you can point to these behaviors all you like, but you're exactly right when you say, Brian, that it's about attractiveness. And that's where this other article comes in. The TED, ideasted.com.
The TED one. Sure, okay.
Yeah.
What makes a person creepy? I have it up. And what purpose do our creep detectors serve? A psychologist explains. Is there a way to boil it down, or should I read through? It's kind of long, but yeah.
There's a way to boil it down.
Okay. Should I read a specific paragraph? Do you want me to go to, or should I just read from the beginning?
Okay, you can go to...
Oh, here we go. Interestingly, almost all of the participants stated that men were more likely to be creepy than women. Participants rated the following as the most likely characteristics of a creepy person. The person stood close to your friend. The person had greasy hair. The person had a peculiar smile. The person had bulging eyes. So like Steve Buscemi? All that sounds like Steve Buscemi. The person had long fingers. The person had unkempt hair. The person had very pale skin. The person had bags under his or her eyes. The person was dressed oddly. The person licked his lips or her lips frequently. The person was wearing dirty clothes. The person laughed at unpredictable times. The person made it nearly impossible for your friend to leave the conversation without appearing wooed. And the person relentlessly steered the conversation towards one topic.
Yeah, so basically 1, 2, 3, 4 to 14, the person is autistic. Okay, so there's maybe one or two behaviors: stood too close, steered the conversation, wouldn't let a person leave. Okay, those are the behaviors that were rated creepy. But let's go down a little bit further.
All right.
If you go down to, but can we really tell from a brief encounter?
Here it is. But can we really tell from a brief encounter whether someone is trustworthy or whether they're likely to hurt us? We make our judgments about trustworthiness within 39 milliseconds of seeing a face. One of my favorite, albeit tiny, studies on whether we can accurately judge a person by their face comes from a 2008 paper from Stephen Porter and colleagues at Dalhousie University, Canada. Dalhousie University, Canada, Participants were asked to rate, I just said A. Participants were asked to rate 34 photos of adult male faces on trustworthiness, kindness, and aggressiveness. Half of the photos were of trustworthy people, and the other half were of untrustworthy people. And the photos in the two groups were matched in terms of facial hair, expressions, and ethnicity. The trustworthy people in the photos had either received the Nobel Peace Prize or the Order of Canada for their devotion to humanity, peace, and society. The untrustworthy came from America's Most Wanted list. They were all people eluding justice for extremely serious crimes. The authors wrote, in the unlikely event that a participant recognized the face, they were to tell the experimenter, but none of the 34 targets were recognized by any participant. It's a shame. Maybe we need to organize a Nobel laureate reality TV show. Should I keep going?
Keep going. Yeah.
All right. In this experiment, participants did slightly worse than if they'd flipped a coin. They correctly identified 49% of the wanted criminals as untrustworthy. However, they were slightly better with the Nobel laureates, rating them as trustworthy 63% of the time. The authors concluded that to make their judgments, people were looking for signs of kindness or aggressiveness in the faces of those they were evaluating. Tying together the original creepiness study and the Nobel laureate study, a 2017 paper found, again, that creepy people were generally thought to be lanky men with poor hygiene who behaved awkwardly. The Canadian researchers also tested 15 photos from the Nobel laureate study to learn about trustworthiness. One important feature is attractiveness. Attractive people were deemed to be trustworthy, be they Nobel laureates or criminals. This is an example of the halo effect, a deeply rooted bias where we assume that people who are more attractive are generally more trustworthy, ambitious, healthier, etc. And it has a flip side. The devil effect leads us to believe that people who are undesirable in one way are likely undesirable in other ways.
Yeah, keep going.
According to other studies, people who are perceived as unattractive are, on the whole, less likely to get good jobs and get reasonable health care. In a study I did in 2015 with my colleagues at the University of British Columbia, we found that unattractive and untrustworthy looking people were convicted of crimes by mock jurors with less evidence, and they were less likely to be exonerated after evidence that proved their innocence. Other researchers have found that having an untrustworthy face makes it more likely you'll be given a harsher criminal sentence, such as the death penalty. Oof. There's one particular facial feature that we zoom in on when we assess strangeness. In the McAndrew and Koch study, or Kochny study, I think, or Koch, whatever, 80% of participants said creepiness was all about the eyes. The researchers went on to conclude that definitions of creepiness tended to revolve around the theme of differentness. Whether it's from birth, injury, or botched surgery, most of us don't choose to have creepy faces. Yet we know that humans have long abused people who look different. Why does this happen?
Okay, you can stop there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. So the predominant thing that differentiates, and creepy is almost invariably used against men, the predominant thing that differentiates creepy from non-creepy is physical attractiveness. Okay, maybe hygiene, but mostly eyes. The physical appearance of your eyes. Right? Mm-hmm. So this is a physical judgment. And when they talk about behaviors, they don't mean they think that that's what's making them feel creepy, but most likely it's the actual physical appearance of the man engaging in the behaviors. Well, look at the Christian Grey thing. He did all of that and still considered to be sexually
desirable.
Shall we?
Yeah, desirable.
Desirable. But as long as you are a man who is conventionally attractive and, put together, you will not be seen as creepy. So what we have now is we have a situation where men are afraid of being dehumanized by women for their physical appearance. Let's put it all together and let's be completely honest about it. That's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, those guys who are saying I'm not interacting with women because I don't want to be dehumanized for my physical appearance, are they wrong? Like 80, most women on these dating sites, or at least the OkCupid study said that 80% of men are unattractive.
Below average attractiveness is how they
and these
it.
Allegations lead to social, the reason why I brought up the history of these allegations and how they've been used in a political context is these are serious allegations. This is the thin edge of the wedge to demonizing and socially ostracizing a group of people. So this is a significantly negative behavior that women engage in towards men. All right? And men are avoiding it because of that. And this is all being soft-pedaled and then put back on the shoulders of men. When nobody seems to be asking, maybe we should be calling out women for engaging in this judgment of men that is guaranteed to be 100% based on looks, or at least 95% based on looks. He's got creepy eyes. I mean, they can rationalize it by saying, "Oh, he did this specific thing." I'm sure that they've considered some men to be creepy even before they did anything. But most likely, the real denominator here is whether or not the dude has creepy eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Maybe he didn't get enough sleep the night before. Maybe he's looking a little hungover or something. And that makes him creepy. And who wants to be subjected to that kind of subjective bullshit when it has such serious consequences? No? And nobody wants to talk about this and say, well, yeah, maybe women do hold some responsibility for not abusing a group of people using rhetoric that's responsible for atrocities. Maybe you could pull back on that a little, ladies.
Yep. Maybe
you could pull back on the demonization of men because, I don't know, maybe their contacts don't fit properly. And they have bloodshot eyes.
But there's something that I used to say that I think is also important. I joke about like the guy who might be unfortunate enough to look like Steve Buscemi, who you guys might know from lots of movies. But if you are Steve Buscemi, you're gonna do a lot better. So it's like it's unfortunate if you look like him, but if you are him, then you're gonna do well, and that's the truth too. So enough status can like kind of overshadow. You might have like a Don Knotts. You might look like Don Knotts, but if you are Don Knotts or were, then you probably did well. So.
Yeah, but my overall point is that we're making men responsible for a situation where they've stopped interacting with women because they don't want to be dehumanized based on their looks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then this woman, her incomprehensible solipsistic screed, like possum screams at own ass. That's basically. I'll get that image for you. That is the totem animal for this stupid article. But anyway, that was a long digression. Shall we get back to it?
Yeah. So we'll go back to the Medium blog, right?
Yeah. Sure. Let's continue.
Okay. As far as I can tell, this piece of dating lore originated from a post on Psychology Today. Yeah, those are totally male-friendly. That's a totally male-friendly website, by the way. It's a good piece. It talks about the need to define creepy behavior so that men can socialize and even hit on women without making them uncomfortable. Be hot. That's basically all it is. Yes, more than 50% of single men say they're confused. They don't know how to act around women. More than 80% of women report creepy behavior from men. The creepiest behaviors involve staring, unwanted contact, inappropriate comments, controlling behavior, refusal to accept clear rejections, and stalking. It's useful to define creepy behavior. At the same time, these strike me as obvious. No, don't stare at people. Don't grab them. Don't disregard their personal space. Don't follow them around. A lot of men would consider this behavior rude or creepy if someone did it to them. They seem to think it's fine when they do these things to women because they don't regard us as people.
Wait. Okay. What are you... Men. Yes, because men think with all the same brain. They all do the same things. They all respond to the name Joe. Like, what the... This is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would she accept this if we were just to say, oh, women do this? Like, when I say women call men creepy, I mean the women who call men creepy. I don't mean, like, all women. I mean, all women have the ability to socially ostracize men by calling them creepy and not being called out for their bullshit. But only the individual women who use that power are responsible for having used it. Okay? That's not... Okay, lady. Possum yelling at own ass. All right? P-Y-A-O-A. P-Y-A-O-A. Not all men do this. In fact, very few men do this. And the more men who turn away from not doing this, the more men will do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to be left with the guys who have no fucking clue and don't care.
Or they don't care, right? You're going to end up with sociopathic men because all the regular men, they don't want to try because it's too risky, or they don't want to be dehumanized or abused. So you're going to end up with the guys who don't care. And then you're going to say that's all men.
Yeah. And it's like she's regarding men in this paragraph. She's literally regarding men as less than people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't have their own individual autonomy. They all do these same negative things. And then she says, and they, throughout history, we, being women, have been portrayed as something slightly less. No, you haven't.
Less than people. Yeah, right.
No, you haven't been portrayed as something slightly less. You've actually been idolized as some kind of foundational force to male cooperative endeavor. Go look at the predominant statuary in like churches across Europe. Every single one of them, like the foundation, like the most foundational stone is carved into the Mother Mary.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go to if you want to go secular, go to all the depictions of guilds in like throughout Europe. They all at their foundation have a muse that is a woman. You've never met women are used to embody all kinds of virtues and exterior expectations placed on men, right? Women have never been depicted as lesser. I mean, sometimes if you go back far enough, the Greeks seem to like them as monsters and also as goddesses. But still, like, this is bullshit. Like, this is just pig ignorant bullshit, and it's so hilarious because she is doing that to men. She's portraying them as lesser, not people. And then she's accusing men of doing the very thing that she's doing to them, to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, woman engages in misogyny as she cries out. Woman engages in misandry as she cries out misogyny.
Mm-hmm. Of course. So yes, it's because they don't regard us as people. Throughout history, we've been portrayed as something slightly less. Somehow the problem became about women. It became about women's behavior. This always happens. So mad about it.
It doesn't happen enough.
Oh, it shouldn't happen. It should happen way more, to be honest.
Yeah, it should happen way more.
Yes.
Okay.
Women have been trying to explain what they want for decades now. They don't want men to stare at them in public. They don't want to be hit on when they're clearly busy trying to live their lives. They give men very clear signals when they want to be left alone. Men don't listen. Yeah, but men don't want to know. They don't want to know what you don't want because I think they know. They want to know what you do want. And
but then again, at this point, do men even want that?
No, I don't think they do. I think more and more men are checking out. So,
but I think men right now, it's judging from this, and that's 53% of single men don't want to don't interact with women. Doesn't mean don't approach women in a sexual sense, just not interacting. They're just trying to avoid women as much as possible. Okay, that's where we're at. All right.
Yep.
And they're doing so because they don't want to be dehumanized by women. Right? They are listening. Why would you want to interact with someone who has the power to dehumanize you, and acts like a freaking weasel on crack about it?
Yep.
You know, like you just like, can I get my, and then could you get out of the way so I can get my frappuccino? And she's like bouncing off the walls, screeching about how you're raping her. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who wants that in their life? And that's where it seems like a lot of men are at. Even more and more, apparently, after COVID, when men got a taste of women not being in their lives. Well, at least women like this, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the kind of woman you want to stay the hell away from. So,
yeah, but how
men,
do you know?
I mean, it's probably, that's why I think it's best to play the odds and just stay away from all of them. You know, like you and I were talking before the show about, I was telling you about how I've been watching these really old Disney movies that are framed and have been for many years as being like, retrograde, regressive, chauvinistic towards women, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that really jumped out at me is how the two movies that I saw, and maybe we'll talk about this at length another time, but I just want to mention this because it put something in my mind that I think the relationship between men and women, even though it was never as good as it could be, was far better back then than it is today, if that is a model that they were sort of just trying to display, at least as an ideal, even if it wasn't the reality. And that was like, Snow White, okay? So people say today, they'll say Snow White was a damsel, she didn't do anything, right? She was just waiting for a man, like that was her whole life. That is not what the movie's about. Like what she does is she is kind and nurturing to everyone around her, and she offers them, like the dwarves, they get sucker from it, the animals, she cleans up after them, because the dwarves are like, they're basically like, it's like a frat house, and they're not cleaning up after themselves and leave shit everywhere because they're dwarves, and they don't care, and they gotta work, like they go to work all day and they come back with the hi-ho and all that, and so they usually come back and they just, they're scrambling for food, they gotta go right to sleep and they gotta get right back up, and she takes care of all of it while they're away, and she basically, like, she loves them and they love her back. That's kind of what happens. Like, she is nurturing and she flatters and she's compassionate and she's empathetic and she's like motherly. She's like a big sister or something. And it was like, I was watching that and I was like, women don't act like this. like not even, I mean, very few. It's sort of like frowned on because it's been framed as servitude to a man. But the truth is that, like, she's it's totally mutual. Like, she's giving them something and they are in turn providing her with shelter because she didn't have a home at the time. And so, like, it's like the least she could do, but like it's so, the way that this is framed, it's so resentful. It's so entitled to men's attention only when she wants it, only from specific men, and only under certain circumstances. There is no kindness. There is no nurturing. There's no grace. There's no grace. It's all just bitterness. And I mean, it's so, like, the contrast, because I just watched this thing this morning, the contrast is so stark. And I'm like, not only is this movie was made in 1938 or something, the original Snow White Disney movie. Obviously, like, the world was different. World War II hadn't even started yet, like, for Americans, right? And she was, like, I don't know, just so clearly feminine, but like not in a stereotype way. I think it was more like the way, I think that it was like presented as an ideal, if that makes sense. Like, it's sort of, it's meant to be like, well, this is like what the best kind of person would be if they were a woman. Just like if it was a heroic knight, they would say this is what the best kind of person would be if they were a man. And it's supposed to be an ideal, like something that you strive for. But like women have just completely abandoned that. Like it doesn't even exist in any place in their mind could there be someone with that kind of like that amount of virtue. That's why the thing about Snow White is just at the end of the day, she is like the ideal of a woman of her time that other women and girls and boys would look at and say, I want to either be this girl or I want to meet a girl like that. And but none of that exists today. Like it's just women trying to be men because they just think men are they just have it so good and they just want to be like that, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So and that's why they're miserable.
Well, yeah, I would say in this case I would just settle for just an iota of human kindness.
Yeah, just be kind.
Like I am certainly not like Snow White, but
no, but I mean,
man.
But that's what I'm saying. That's all it takes. Like she is, like the dwarves. They're strange little men that have like weird idiosyncrasies, and they don't have the best hygiene. They don't keep their place clean, right? But she does not judge them. She's just like, I'm gonna help you out. And even when they like get upset, like they're grumpy, he's like. He's like women, he's being like about as mean as I guess you could be to a woman in a Disney movie, and she totally is fine with it. She forgives him. She tries to earn his love. She tries to earn his trust, right? And then she does. Like eventually she melts his cold heart, and so like that's I think that
what's interesting is
that
actually if you look at it, that is her looking at a situation that she's in and seeing how she can improve it through her own actions.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
Which is, if you think about it, if you really think about it, that is, I don't want to say technically that is more of an masculine approach, even though it's in a feminine package.
Yes.
Even though it's employing feminine tools. She's looking at the situation in terms of either embracing some aspect of stoicism, in other words, setting aside her emotions to put someone else first, or embracing some aspect of her abilities in order to improve her circumstance, but in a feminine way. And that is sort of an integrated personality. And that is a stronger character than whatever the hell else something like Captain Marvel is.
Well, let's just say Captain Marvel is basically just a man. Like less than that, because a man would have to measure his own actions and impacts on the world, whereas Captain Marvel is just about her. It's literally just self-worship. That's I was telling Lindsay about that. I said, the stories today about women, they all boil down to one thing. It's like, you were always great, you just needed to realize it. That's like the plot of every story that features a woman in it. You were always great, you just needed to wake up to it. As opposed to, like I was saying before, maybe we'll do a show on it. I'm going to watch Cinderella, and then we'll talk about all three if you're okay with it. You should watch them, though. Like, you'll see things, because I didn't notice these before. Yeah. You'll notice things now that you didn't.
I'll take a watch, and we'll have a discussion of it.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely. Back to this. Yeah, let's get back to it.
I sent you the picture.
Yeah, I shared it. I shared it. Do you have any?
This is the article.
Yeah. Do you have any thank yous to give? Like.
Oh yes, I do. And we have some super chats.
I do. I see those. I'll read them, but give me the thank yous first.
Okay, so I'm just going to use the first three letters. REI gives us $100 for the fundraiser. Thank you.
That's
REI.
great.
Erotic. Erotic.
Okay, enough.
Thank you, Zap.
Okay, and he or she sent us a super chow.
Oh, Anonymous Aussie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anonymous Aussie. So we just got one donation to the fundraiser, right?
Yeah, sorry about that, Anonymous Aussie. I should have said Anonymous Aussie. Hopefully I didn't reveal too much.
That's okay. So Anonymous Aussie gives us, it looks like are these two separate things and they're one
Well, the
thing?
100 is to the fundraiser, the 5 is to the
Oh, I see. Okay,
and if you want to join Anonymous Aussie, go to feedthebadger.com/support. So make sure that we can continue to keep talking about this stuff. It's more and more I'm realizing that our approach is completely unique. It is not conservative, and it's not left or right.
Yeah.
Because neither seem to really want to embrace the idea of caring about men. despite the fact that men sort of do some very important stuff in our society. Maybe we should start caring about them before they all start to check out. And it's not even about making sure that men continue to do what they want, like what we want them to do to continue to make sure society keeps running. I mean, don't you just care? Like, why would you want half the human race to exist in a sense of despondency, or not call out the other half of the human race for dehumanizing them? Like, why would you not care about men? Can you tell me? Anyway, if you would like to help us continue to push that message that, maybe we should care about men because they're human beings, go to feedthebadger.com/support. Doesn't seem to be a very popular message on either the left or the right, but it's popular with us. So there you go. feedthebadger.com/support. Okay, go for it, Brian.
So I got so we got a $100 donation and the $5 super chat from Anonymous Aussie, who says, finally caught a live show. Just wanted to say, as someone who has begun to lean more conservative, thank you for providing a positive view of men that neither side provides. Well, thank you for that. Just keep holding their feet to the fire. I think they'll come around. At least there's a better chance of them listening to keep it up. So thank you. And then Anonymous Aussie gives us another $5. Thank you. And says, remember when PUAs helped men develop themselves in a way that made them attractive and not creepy to women, but apparently that was misogyny or something? I don't really pay a lot of attention to the PUA crowd, to be honest. I'm not saying they don't have anything useful. I'm not saying they don't have anything useful to say, but I'm not surprised by that. Again, at the end of the day, you're going to need more tools than just the PUA tools, like to interact with women. I think that you have to learn to, you kind of have to learn things from the PUA camp, but also for the MGTOW camp, because the benefits of some of the things that the MGTOW talk about is that you will stop worrying so much about women's approval. And that's like the one thing, because the thing is, women can, it's like, how animals can smell fear. I think women can smell when a man is trying to get their approval, and for whatever reason, and I think it's because of all this fucking programming, women are turned off by that, or they're put off by that in some way. I what were you gonna say?
Okay, I'm gonna say this, because I see myself in that statement. I really don't want to be around a guy who's really seeking my approval that much either.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand, like, they can smell that, which is why they end up with sociopaths a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you want that, maybe we should encourage men to develop the skills that allow them to set the boundaries, so that they aren't seeking women's approval to that degree. I mean, it seems like men will always, in some ways, want women's approval.
Yeah.
But if you can just get it to a point where, this is a really difficult concept to convey, where they're still seeing women as an individual who should be judged by their actions somehow, if you can find that balance.
Yeah, there is a way. I guess that I would agree with that. I think that since MGTOW, I use it as an example, is that I think one of the primary things that they try to promote is that they have to, like, be able to live with free from the need to be liked by women, or free from women's validation. If you can do that, and I know it's not easy because we have an instinct, right? That we're fighting against an instinct. But if you can, like, downplay it or resist in some way, and also look at women in the way that Allison said, as individuals, that you judge them by their actions, so whether or not that you would want to be in their company, because that's another thing that men don't do, is they think, well, they think that women are a gift to them, and I don't mean that in a way that says that they're objects, but I mean, like, when a woman approves of a man, he's just so glad that she approves that he doesn't take the time to reciprocate that, because he just wants to be approved, right? So if he also looks at her behavior and says, I'm not a fan of this character trait, or the way you treated my friend, or the way that you treated the waitress, or whatever, then like they will have a better, like they'll be able to see women as, flawed people just like they are, because they are, and they won't need that approval. And I think
past approval.
Yeah, it'll move past that obstacle.
You know what was interesting? Okay, so remember the negging that pickup artists used to talk about?
Yeah.
Which was like the biggest thing that they got shit for?
Yeah.
That's essentially what that's one of the best ways, and usually, it would be easier. I don't know why they always went for the most like ugly way of describing the things that they do. Teasing.
Yeah,
it indicates
teasing
to a woman that a man isn't after her approval. Like,
right.
That he isn't making himself subordinate to her approval.
Yeah.
That's what negging does.
Yeah.
Okay.
It also, I guess, it shows the woman the man is paying attention to her flaws. Like if he's negging her for, anything, like a little thing, like let's say that
he's willing to criticize her.
Yeah, like if she has something in her teeth, and he used it to like poke a little fun, but it's not like taking it too seriously, then she'll say, oh, he's paying attention to details, right? Like if she stutters, or if she mispronounces a word or something, right, and he points it out, but he does so in a playful way, then I think that the woman will say, oh, well, this guy's actually listening to me. Because I think a lot of women don't think men listen, even though they do. But you have to kind of like prove it, I guess. So.
And it also gives a sense that he's not like after something.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like, and women, the whole argument over pickup artists just ended up deteriorating ridiculously. Because it's true. Like a guy who teases you, a guy who quote unquote negs, does not give the feeling like he's grooming or he's lurking or he's predatory. Because it gives a feeling like if you bounced, he wouldn't cling, essentially. Right? And so it gives that feeling like he's not subservient to your approval, and also that he's not trying to flatter or create this deception through flattery in order to get something out of you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the thing is that was the whole thing, and I mean, to talk about that super chat that came through. The whole thing with pickup artists was simply teaching men to approach women in such a way that they enjoyed the encounter and thought well of the men, and that was stigmatized. That was like basically kill it with fire.
Yep.
All right, this woman has verbal diarrhea, so let's get through this.
Well, let me finish the super chows. So I got one from Miss Anne of Arc for $5, and she says, "Women, stop looking at us. All women goes to gym in sports bra and leggings." Yeah, because it's got to be the right kind of man that notices. I mean, they obviously do it for attention, in my opinion. But NobaFan21 gives us $1. This is on Rumble Rants, and says, "The writer acts like gym thoughts never existed. Ignorance is bliss. Feral, feral, feral." That was the woman. I think she had a TikTok video where she was talking about. She basically like videoed herself and claimed that men were staring at her. Like there was this old man. Remember we responded to it, and but clearly like there was no real evidence. She just, I don't know, felt like everyone's looking at her because she's so important. Or she's just paranoid and just figured this old man that's not here to work out must be here for me. So thank you for that. And then Mike on Super Chat in YouTube says for $2, "Women, my gentlemen, I am afraid to report that women." Derek Workman gives us $5 and says, "Why should men care what women want when women flat out don't what men want?" I think you mean to say don't want what men want. "No one should have to care about someone that doesn't care about them." Well, I think men, I mean, let me see. Why should men care? Well, I think a lot of men do, though, because they, at the end of the day, they are looking for a partner, like the majority of men, and they want a decent, virtuous woman, I think. And the truth is, the only way they're going to find out is if they approach them, I guess. And so you're looking at like several degrees of like filtering that results in very few men approaching the majority of women, and the majority of women finding most of those men unattractive. So it's just, unfortunately, it's rigged. It's a rigged game right now, yeah, it's just not good. But they're gonna still want it because like nobody wants to die alone. So,
well, apparently this woman does, but regardless.
Oh yeah, well maybe she's a lesbian. That doesn't mean she won't die alone though. Okay, so men don't listen. A few years ago, some dude went viral by saying men should pull women's earbuds down so they could talk to them. He didn't get it. Women aren't stupid. They put their earbuds in so people will leave them alone. Trust me, we pay attention to our surroundings. If a woman sees someone she's interested in, she will get his attention. Will she approach him and talk to him?
Like, she's upset because the Evie article suggested that women approach men, and now she's literally saying women approach men. Could you? Oh, God.
No. She's not saying that women should approach men. She's saying that if a woman sees someone she's interested in, she will get his attention. That doesn't mean that they approach. That means that they do that subtle shit that men usually miss or misinterpret, because women don't have the balls to approach men they're interested in. They just don't. Instead, they just do this coy shit, and then when they get attention from the wrong kind of man, because they're sending this signal out to everybody, and like maybe the wrong guy, well, whatever it is, like she's like wearing, leggings and a sports bra in the gym, and she's doing like, working on a machine that like uses her butt or her thighs or something like that, and it's very explicit, like if they're not like creative, but even if it's subtle, the thing is that there might be a man in the gym that you want to get the attention of. But because women don't have the balls to go up to men that they're interested in and introduce themselves, instead they stay on their machine or whatever it is they're doing, and they try to play it subtle in the hopes that that man will notice. But that man might not, and another man might. But that other man is the creepy man because he's not the one they're targeting. You see what I mean? So what she's saying is, if they're interested, they'll do something to get his attention. They won't talk to him because they're cowards. Because if that man might reject them. Because if they're picking a man out in the gym, he's probably like the fucking peak 1% guy, that was like driven there by his professional driver, and he like, I don't know, like he's just like there to work out, and he's basically high status, he's good looking, big dick, whatever. And she's like, well, I should have this man, but I don't want to approach him because if I do, he might be like, you're mid, get out of here. And that's going to break her heart. But if other men approach her and they're unworthy, well, they deserve to get their heart broken, you see. Because they had the gall to approach her. Yeah.
That's the problem of low value signaling. Like this is a signaling thing. Like, you can send out a signal that has a lot of noise in it, basically. So you send it out, and it doesn't have a clear, like, there's not a clear statement in it. It's a little bit ambiguous, an ambiguous signal. So it gives the woman plausible deniability, so she can preserve her ego. Right?
Yeah, because if that guy rejects her, she can be like, well, I didn't want to date you. I didn't like you.
Yeah, but she's giving out the signal.
Yeah.
She's not giving any indication to whom. Because if she gave any indication to whom, that man could then subsequently reject her. So she's giving out a broad signal, and then she complains that other men are picking up on it.
Yep.
Well, if you aren't going to explicitly direct your signal to the exact man that you're attracted to, by definition, that signal is going to every man in the vicinity. So if you don't want to be approached, if you're going to say, oh, if a man of low status approaches me, that's creepy, because it is, that's what's determining in your brain whether or not it's creepy. That is whether or not the man coming and saying hi is ugly to you. That's it. It's just a pure locust switch in your head. That's all it is. Don't even bother with the bullshit shuck and jive about all of this other. I just don't want to be acousted by a serial killer. Bullshit. You just don't want the fuglies going near you and breathing on you.
I mean, they're not even fuglies. They're probably just normal dudes. They're just not. They're just not the fucking Christian Greys of the world.
if you're going to give off this signal that has no clear target, then every man in the vicinity is a legitimate target of that signal. And you're doing that because you don't have the balls to risk rejection.
Yeah.
If you had the balls to risk rejection, you would get your fucking ass up and go over to the man you want and say, hey, all right? And probably get completely ghosted because you're mid.
Right.
But regardless, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to have plausible deniability. Well, the cost of plausible deniability is dealing with everybody else you've alerted with your bat signal. Okay? There you go. You want plausible deniability, you have to deal with the fuglies. And yeah, I know, Brian, they're not fugly. They're just mid like she's mid.
Yeah,
I mean, really what's happening is a mid woman flashes the inflamed ass cheeks, and all the mid men in the vicinity are like, oh, okay, yeah, she's mid like me. I'll just mosey on over and say, hey. And she's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I wanted Chad.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Okay, lady, if you're mid and you flash mid inflamed ass cheeks, you're going to get mid men.
Yep.
And that's all you deserve. You don't deserve Chad. Chad's not going to pay attention to you. Be happy with your mid men. And don't whine that they're creepy because you are actually going after some guy who's out of your league. Because this is what this is all about. It's creepy women flashing their ass cheeks and complaining that mid men are coming after them. Well, you're mid.
Yeah.
Live with it.
Yep.
Embrace it.
Lower your standards, ladies.
Not even.
Stop.
It's not. It's like literally look at yourself in the mirror, lady, and say, would I date me if I was a man? Would I date me?
Well,
what better? Why do you deserve a man better than what you are?
I mean, if you only knew how delusional the modern woman is. Like, the overwhelming majority of women think they're a 10. Don't know why, but they do. And I think it's because of this, like, I don't know, this culture of, self, worship, I guess.
Okay, but ultimately, the final conclusion of this is if you want to give off an ambiguous signal, that means you're going to be alerting every man in the vicinity if you don't make it directional. And you do that because you don't want to face rejection. Because you don't want the man's role because you know it sucks. So you expect men to take on the role that sucks and also deal with your crap on top of it. And take no responsibility for the fact you are alerting the men in the vicinity that you're interested. But you just don't want to make it directional because you might get rejected. This is all so freaking smarmy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing is that you underestimate, like, why can't we just be honest about this? Women who dehumanize men are creepy themselves. Okay? Like, the mid guys are gonna, Jessica gives off her little bat signal, and the mid guys around there are gonna be like, oh, she's mid like me, okay. Chad is gonna be like, ooh, creep.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works. Unless he wants to, I guess, hit and quit.
Well, I mean, that's also, that's also going to happen. But I mean, again,
but it's like, this attitude she has is creepy. Okay? Maybe it is annoying that you're getting all this attention as a result of your ambiguous signals. But that's what you get if you want to avoid rejection. Right? This is the cost of being allowed to avoid rejection is that you have to deal with people you're not interested in.
Yep.
Right?
All right.
And you know that you're giving off a signal. You know you're giving off a communication, so take responsibility for it. All right.
Okay.
We're never going to get through this.
I do have to take off at like 8:45 because Lindsay gets out of work at 9, and I don't want to make her wait because it's raining out here. It's been raining for days. Yeah, we got about 20 minutes. 20 minutes, yeah. All right. I've done it. Other women do it. There's this idea that women simply sit around waiting for men to sweep in and woo them off their feet. Either that, or they're simply too self-absorbed or straight up stupid to tell when a guy wants them. Here's the real problem. Oh, I can't wait to hear this. For the most part, nobody is teaching men how to act around women. Nobody is teaching them how to express romantic or sexual interest in women with courtesy and respect. Nobody is teaching them how to recognize when a woman is interested in them. They seem to expect women to hold up a giant flashing sign. For what it's worth, a lot of women do solicit men. Okay, let me stop there for a second. If these men, and I'm assuming that you're like a millennial, okay? So if you are finding that men just don't know, nobody's teaching men how to act around women, who's raising these men? It's not fathers, because they're not around. So where are these men getting this bad advice? Could it be from their mothers? Just saying, something to think about. And what are women getting as far as advice from, like, on how to react to men who, you know, make an attempt or an attempt on an approach? What is that about? Anyway, nobody is teaching them how to recognize when a woman is interested in them. They seem to expect women to hold up a giant flashing sign. For what it's worth, a lot of women do solicit men. When a woman sees someone she likes, she'll make eye contact. I don't know. I've made plenty of eye contact with women. I don't think that makes them sexually interested, but okay. She'll glance at them several times. She'll put herself in their line of sight. She'll walk up and introduce herself. She'll start a conversation. She'll ask if they're single. She'll ask if they want to hang out. She'll volunteer her number. Yeah, I'm pressing X to doubt on those last three things. Sure, she'll probably make eye contact. She'll probably glance.
No problem.
What?
Okay, so men are going to stop approaching and women will do the approaching.
Yeah, we'll just let women do it. Yeah, they'll be assertive and then men will know. Well, why don't we just do that? The ball's in your court, ladies.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be.
Yeah.
She'll volunteer her number. Okay, there you go. Get used to being rejected.
Yep. Women
you will be rejected if you're the one doing the approach. Okay.
Women know how to convey their interest without engaging in creepy behavior.
Oh no, lady, no.
Like staring at someone until they get uncomfortable and leave. If she doesn't,
lady.
Go ahead.
No, you don't understand the causality here. Men tolerate more crappy behavior from women.
Mm-hmm.
Men tolerate more shitty, boundary breaking behavior from women than the reverse.
Yep.
And by tolerate, I mean they swallow it because they're taught to be stoic. They're taught that when a woman comes over and grabs their junk, they should laugh it off. You know, when a woman does even worse things, that they should laugh it off. If women, with their attitude, like the average woman, well, yeah, you know what, I'm going to say that. If they turned into men tomorrow, the creepiness would be off the scale. The perceived creepiness would suddenly become very apparent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's guys who are completely disgusted by women's behavior sexually and in terms of boundary breaking. I've seen it. I've seen it at parties. I've seen it at concerts.
Yeah.
Right? Interestingly enough, okay, so anecdote time. We went to a Tiesto concert like many years back.
Oh my god, I used to love Tiesto.
There was a fucking ocean tide of drunk women at this stupid conference. And this was one of the incidences where some chick was attempting to kiss me and I was like backing away and telling her to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was with Jonathan. It was like, ugh. And then there's these drunk chicks. One walked up to Jonathan and was like, "Can you get me some water?" And Jonathan, he did get her water from. She gave him money, so he bought her water with her own money and gave it to her. But in a way that was like, "Please leave." And then there was like these two drunken chicks who were like sliding their way next to these two dudes against the wall. They were just sitting against the wall talking. And the chicks were like, "Can we borrow your jacket?" And the guys were obviously uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And these women just parked there, making them uncomfortable for as long as we were back there watching this. And they were like you could tell the men were not happy for them to be anywhere near them. And this is what I saw. A lot of women making people uncomfortable. A lot of drunk women puking and making people uncomfortable. Right? So don't give me this shit that women are just perfect angels. No, you're not. You get drunk and make people hella uncomfortable too. You get drunk and do worse. Right? Okay, maybe men do that too, but women do it too. It's not a male or female behavior. Although women get away with it more, which means that it sort of feels like there are more women doing it. I don't know if there is more women doing it, but they certainly get away with it more. So it's more obnoxious when they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So no, women do engage in creepy behavior. They do engage in boundary breaking behavior. And what ended up happening is those two women, I guess for some reason, started to ask Jonathan if he would give him her jacket. Like, I'm right there. And as soon as they latched on to Jonathan, the two guys were just like, we're gone. And they left. Drunk women, weren't those men supposed to be jumping them? No, they looked incredibly uncomfortable and left at the earliest opportunity to get the hell away from them. And that's what I saw at this concert.
Yep.
A lot of women groping people who were obviously uncomfortable. A lot of women engaging in behavior that other people were not happy with. And so no, you're wrong. Women also do this shit. You're not pure angels. You're not the angel in the kitchen, lady. And if you want to be the angel in the kitchen, get back in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Go learn to act like Snow White.
Okay. I was gonna play a soundbite, but I changed my mind. Okay, where was I? Okay, women know how to convey their interest without engaging in creepy behavior, like staring at someone until they get uncomfortable and leave. If she doesn't do that, then it means she's not interested. Or it means she's got big things going on in her life. Girl bossing! She's girl bossing. We don't have time for men. She's not up for dating. Maybe more women need to learn this kind of subtle confidence. Maybe more men need to learn how to show their interest while also understanding when to back off. More than anything, we've got to stop blaming all men or all women for every problem in dating culture or society at large.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah, now? Yeah, really? Yeah.
Oh, we got to stop blaming all men? That's all you've been doing this entire time.
We have to stop it. My both sides, guys. My both sides. I'm the smartest and most understanding, most empathetic person on earth, and everyone else is stupid.
Good Lord.
And I'm
look at
I'm
this.
proving it by
this.
saying it's all men or all women. We have to stop doing it. Stop with the generalizations. Okay, I'll keep reading.
Go ahead.
We also have to stop insisting that women and men share exactly 50% of the responsibility for these problems. Oh, really? It's not true. Men have been in charge of our political and cultural institutions for hundreds of years. Women have only started to enjoy a little more autonomy and freedom over the last 50 years. Did we suddenly destroy the world in a few decades?
Okay, all right. Stop here. We got to stop blaming all men or all women because we got to start blaming all men. Oh, God. You know what? Can we tattoo these women and just be like, you know what? I guarantee. You know what? This woman is probably the kind of woman who makes an absolute nuisance of herself when she gets drunk.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of continue on with
the
next paragraph.
This is really this is really annoying. This is the reason why, by the way. And like if you know people that claim to be critical of feminism and they're spouting this feminism used to be necessary bullshit, you have to call them out. I do it in every comment section of any video where I hear anyone, I don't care what their politics is, that doesn't matter. If they say that, women, they just got their rights, I call them out immediately. I say, no, you have to stop doing this because if you do this, you'll be giving up ground. Every time you say women used to, whatever, you give up ground. Don't do it. And not just because it's tactically incorrect or not useful, but also because it's not true. And that's more important. Stop doing that. Okay, go ahead.
Every society that has well, they have the demarcation between men and women, and men go and they go. Basically, what they're doing is men are going to the provide for women mines, and they're like, oh, men only men have the right to go to the provide for women mines. But when the men leave the provide for women mines, what do? They provide for women. And that's true about every freaking society. Any society you point to and say, oh, women were restricted from this. Yes, but the products of it were expected to go to women, socially or legally.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
All invariably. Okay, and also that women were restricted from things that were probably pretty dangerous and horrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
keep going. JoJo's milling about, so he mmust know that it's almost time for us to go pick up Lindsay. He's got a clock in his head. He knows when it's time to eat. He knows when it's time to wake up. He knows he just starts moving around. Anyway, so God. I don't know if you have a dog with an internal clock, but JoJo has an internal clock. He knows when it's time to eat. He knows when it's time to pick up Lindsay. Yeah. All right, but anyway.
A lot of
men's problems now stem from the behavior of other men. It's largely other men who've rigged the economy in favor of billionaires. Bullshit. It's largely men who outsource their jobs, our jobs. Bullshit.
What did you just fucking say? Don't blame all
men. It's largely other men who've rigged the economy in favor of billionaires. That's a lie. It's just a lie on its face. But especially that the claim is that other men have done this. Like, you're so, you know what this is. This is a self-report. This is her saying, if I was a billionaire, I would do this. That's what she's saying.
No, she's saying all of the men who are working at Starbucks have rigged the economy in favor of billionaires.
She's generalizing to put men in this position because patriarchy.
Oh, keep going. Oh,
but okay.
Again, I remind you, we gotta stop blaming all men. And then look at this. Keep going, because we gotta get through this, right?
It's largely men who wreck the planet. Okay. Not women with their pre-trash. It's largely men who keep feeding attention to misogynist influencers and making them rich. Oh, you mean like Andrew Tate, the worst person on earth? Yes, women reinforce toxic masculinity. Women create and uphold toxic beauty standards. Women exploit each other in order to advance their own corporate and political careers. They do it because our economy has left them few other alternatives to make a living. They do it because they seek attention and approval from toxic men. God. Are a lot of men sad and lonely now? Yes. Are a lot of women sad and lonely now? Yes. Women are dealing with it by expressing their emotions and frustrations. They're figuring out how to be single. They're figuring out how to live through the mess of end-stage capitalism. Most of them aren't talking about assaulting and killing men.
A lot of them are. Okay, a lot of them are talking about assaulting and killing men. And not just this. What did you say? Let's not blame all men. And then what did you immediately do? This has got 7,000 upvotes.
Mm-hmm.
This is unbelievable.
It's just her and all her cats.
Uncritical, like just not even being able to see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we gotta stop blaming all men. Well, and then the next freaking 3 paragraphs, all you do is blame men.
Yep.
You understand that the life you live is unbelievably privileged? Like, you talk about how men are responsible for the billionaires and the 8-stage capitalism and environmental degradation. You sit on a computer desk in an air-conditioned or heated apartment with food that you can easily get. Do you understand the misery that we lived in? And if men are responsible for end-stage capitalism, they're also responsible for the fact that you live in unbelievable comfort. Enough comfort that you can sit and spout the solipsistic dribble. Okay.
Yeah. All right. They're not shooting up schools. They're not forming online hate groups where they declare their right to men's
online hate group.
bodies. Yeah.
Like, literally.
They're not voting to strip away strip them of their human rights, are they?
Yeah, but they don't have any.
Yeah, what rights do?
Like, what rights are you going to strip away from men? But that hasn't already been stripped away.
Yep. Yeah, the right to their penis being intact, just as a start.
Is opting out of parenthood? No, they don't have that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the legal precedent for men. The legal precedent for men when it comes to parenthood is that consent to sex is separate from consent to parenthood. And the reason why they did that is because legally they didn't want men to be able to say, hey, I was raped, therefore I didn't consent to parenthood. So even if a man is raped, he consented to parenthood. Now, the legal situation for women is different. It's also separate. So if a woman consents, a woman's consent to sex is separate from her consent to parenthood. But it has a completely different outcome, because if a woman consents to sex, that does not mean consent to parenthood. So if a man doesn't consent to sex, that still means he consented to parenthood. But if a woman does consent to sex, that does not mean she consented to parenthood. That is the legal reality. It is a double standard that gives women more rights. The double standard when it comes to genital integrity gives women more rights. The double standard when it comes to parental custody gives women more rights. The double standard when it comes to conscription gives women more rights. You name one thing that men have, because I've just named 4 things that women have more rights over, more bodily autonomy over than men. That's in the frickin' law. And you have nothing. And the reason why it's that way is because it's always been that way. Society has always been structured in order to provide and protect for women. Except in some societies, we gave men an actual identity. We actually recognized the importance of masculinity in the male role, and we had some reciprocal expectations from women. She's all fucking gone. And she's still complaining.
She's still complaining.
Your life is basically utopian because you live in a late stage capitalist empire created by men.
And you're still complaining about it.
And you're still complaining about it because there are there exist criminal men in the world.
Yep.
Or men who are mistaking your high volume, ambiguous, mid men who are mistaking your high volume, ambiguous signals as being directed at them because you're also a mid woman. Okay.
I understand that men need help. They have to ask for it. Nothing is going to change until more men start owning their behavior. Nothing is going to change until more men start trying to learn and listen. Nothing is going to change until more men start teaching each other better and expecting better from each other. Yeah, but when they do, you call them misogynists. Like when men try to help each other, the PUAs are trying to help men. Guys like Andrew Tate are trying to help men. And you shit on that. So you don't really
I don't know how much Andrew Tate is really helping men.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to get into that, but I will say this. He's not the guy he was a year ago. That's all I'm going to say. I've watched a long interview after he's been in the Romanian prison, and he is not the guy that everyone keeps quoting from a year ago, that the BBC is trying to bring up from a year ago. He's not the same guy. So let's just act as though a lot of men that these people hate are actually trying to help men, even if they're not doing it exactly the way some of the people who watch us think they should. That doesn't matter. Josh Hawley wrote a book about masculinity. He's a conservative guy, but that doesn't mean that book has no value. There are men trying. We should celebrate that, and we should congratulate them, and we should support them. Okay?
Yeah.
If they do wrong, then we call them out. But I don't think that my point is this. Okay.
Essentially, your point is this: that men do help each other.
They're trying.
When they do, they're slammed.
Yes.
They are slammed down by the media and by feminism.
Yes.
Because the honest to God truth is, what I'm getting a sense is that they don't want men to be helped.
Yeah, they don't.
They want men in this situation of desperation. And the funny thing is that the response, and I don't even know why she's complaining about this. 53% of single men aren't interacting with women. They're minimizing their interactions with women. And a lot of people say, well, or at least Lauren Southern recently tweeted, oh, if you get off the internet, everybody's, it's fine. Well, I'm going to say something from where I am. I have seen this in action now. I live in a small town, 800 people. I've seen men minimizing interactions with women. Okay? I have now heard there's a radical MGTOW, and there's probably more than one, in my town. This is bigger. This is big, and it's spreading. 53% don't want to interact with women or avoid interacting with women because they don't want to be dehumanized by them for their looks. There's going to be more. Like if you asked a man, this is will you interact with women? What about will you approach a woman? If 53 won't interact, the number of men who will no longer approach women must be significantly higher. And incidentally, if you're on those fucking dating apps, what the hell are you doing? Get some dignity.
As a man or
Cancel
a woman?
All those stupid if you're a man.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, don't.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Don't. Nothing is going to get better until you withdraw your consent to these dating apps.
Mm-hmm.
Because all they do is give women a false sense of plenty and depress the hell out of men.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good Lord. You know what I would suggest men do? Cultivate a talent. Get a dog.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, like, read a book, go to church, I don't know, learn a skill, do something for yourself. Not self-worship, just, like, develop, skills of some kind, and make the most of it, and don't worry about women. They'll figure it out at some point, maybe, and maybe you'll meet somebody that's good enough, and that's how you should look at it. Does she share my values? Does she live up to the standards that I hold myself to? Then yes. So, I don't know. I'm going to finish it off.
Let's bring this home.
Let's bring it home, okay.
Let's do it. Yeah, bring it home.
Nothing is going to change until more men start teaching each other better and expecting better from each other. Some men are doing it. The ones reading this know who they are. They don't need me to list their names. Oh, because that's how few there are. You know their names. If more than half of men... that's like there's so few men that are doing it that she knows them personally. She knows them personally, yeah. She's vetted them herself. If more than half of men are worried about coming off as creepy, there's something simple they can do. They can stop.
They have stopped.
They should stop.
Like this is, they've stopped. They've stopped interacting with you, and I don't blame them. Like if I read this and I was a guy and I'm like, this could be lurking behind the eyes of any woman that I see in the world, I'd be like, I'm going to minimize my interactions too. Because you are a dehumanizing bigot.
Absolutely.
Right? And you are a dehumanizing bigot with way too much social clout.
Mm-hmm. Other articles from the same person kind of give you a little look into what kind of person they are. Maybe you don't have to be likable by Jessica Wildfire. I wish I'd figured it out sooner. So you're just a terrible human being that no one wants to know, essentially. Like, why are we listening to you?
Well, we're listening to you because this is the most recent
I know.
On the fact that men don't want to interact with women. Not approach. Approach is probably even a higher number.
Thanks for demonstrating why. I mean, this literally is why men don't approach you. So. Well,
not even her. They're just like, because they're afraid of finding a Jessica Wildfire, they're not approaching any woman.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jessica. You yourself and all of your very highly upvoted article has probably shifted the needle even further downward in terms of the number of men who are willing to approach women or even interested in a relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. I almost feels organized somehow.
Almost.
Okay. I have one thank you to give. So
great.
Thank you to Mrs. Anna
Good news, everyone.
She gives us 25, and if you would like to join our very generous supporters like Mrs. Anna Vark, you can go to feedthebadger.com/support, or you can send us a message, and we will at feedthebadger.com/justthetip, and we will endeavor to read it and discuss it at the next show, or the next relevant show. And I hope you enjoyed this.
I mean, I did, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Thanks for the 25.
This is this person exists. I think.
Yep.
She might be AI.
No, that's
could you write?
Probably
she could
real.
have just been a prompt, an AI prompt, and been like, can you write an article to single-handedly reduce the number of men who are still willing to entertain women in any capacity? There you go. It popped out.
Yeah.
Big Think created this.
This was
All
made
right.
by Chat GPT.
Deep thought. Deep thought. That's the from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's the
yeah. Okay. So I guess that's it then. We'll wrap it up.
Yep.
So
Because
guys,
you gotta go.
yes I do. I have to go pick up the wife. So if you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. I might be doing another Jedi Survivor stream on Saturday or Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. I'll set it up in advance and it will be unlisted after the stream has ended. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.